What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you guys go ahead and hit subscribe. Today we're working on the Wrangler. So I've had a couple issues with this thing recently, and I think we finally figured out what might be causing the issues. So for starters, I got home the other day after driving for like 2, maybe 3 hours, and the headers and the cats were glowing red. I'll put a picture up here on the screen. So obviously that's an issue and that's not ideal. So I didn't really know what was causing that. I thought it might be because the cats were going out or something like that, because some of the research I did kind of led to that direction. But today I hooked up the JScan app, which actually lets you read some issues that your Jeep might be having, scan it for codes, all that stuff. If you don't have it, definitely recommend getting it if you have a Wrangler. But that let me know I had some misfires, quite a few actually. I'll also put that screenshot up right here. And since I have so many misfires and it's got 155,000 miles on it with stock spark plugs that have never been replaced, probably should have done that a while ago. We're going to go ahead and replace the spark plugs and see if that fixes our misfire issue, which I'm thinking might also be the issue with the glowing red exhaust, because I think it might be shooting unburned gas into the exhaust and getting super, super hot. So we're going to go ahead, swap out the spark plugs, see if that resolves the issue. If not, I guess we'll look into further issues and see what could be going wrong. But hopefully this fixes our issue because it's pretty cheap and easy fix. So I went, picked up a bunch of spark plugs for the Jeep. This side should be relatively easy to get to. Pop these off and we should be good to go on this side. These are all fairly easy to get to. This side, not so much. So I'm going to start on this side, get these swapped out. Then we'll move on to this side. Before we do that though, we got to make sure these are all gapped correctly. All right, so I got one of them pulled out just to see what it looked like and to give you guys kind of a side-by-side comparison. And as you can see, it's a little burnt up. So we're going to go ahead and put these new ones in. These are perfect, brand new. So we'll get these stuck in there and see if that solves the misfire issue, because these are pretty messed up. And apparently you're supposed to change them every 30,000 miles. And my Jeep has 155,000, so it definitely needed it. Even if this doesn't fix our issue all the way, this definitely was something it needed. Alright guys, so I'm trying to pop out all the spark plugs and we've run into a issue. So if you guys don't know what this is, it's actually the part that goes inside the wire and pops onto the top of the spark plug. Unfortunately, these wires are also kind of bad and it ripped out literally 5 of the 6 of them. So we're going to go ahead and pick up some new wires. I'm going to head to AutoZone and grab a set of those. Once I get back, we'll go ahead and replace all of these. Now these are labeled, so that's really convenient. And it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically like you're reading a book left to right and then from front to rear. So they're all labeled so we know which cylinder to put each wire to, so it should be relatively simple to replace. Fortunately, they're also not too expensive, so I don't feel too bad about breaking them. They're like 50 bucks and we'll get a new set, but you guys can see this one got ripped to shreds. So we'll go ahead and replace all of them, even if they all don't break. That way we just know they're brand new and there's no issues with the wires. Before I leave though, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest pulled off just so that way it's done and ready to go by the time we get back, and all we have to do is pop on the wires. So this side is actually going to be a little tricky to get to. I'm going to have to move some of these hoses around to make room, and actually the farthest back spark plug will be easiest to access through the fender since I don't have a fender liner. So I'm going to go ahead and pop all these out, swap out the spark plugs, and then go pick up some wires so we can replace them. Alright, so I got some new wires for our spark plugs, so we're going to go ahead and get these installed. The driver's side should be pretty simple because they're all short and ran straight down. Shouldn't be too hard. The other side I have to route around the back, but since these did all pop off, we're going to go ahead and replace all of them. So this first step is going to be separating them. So here is all of the driver's side wires. Pretty simple. They all actually have a certain shaped end piece. So the passenger side, they're all straight. Driver's side are angled at 90, so it's pretty simple to figure out which side is which. Now all we have to do is hook them up, and the driver's side should be 100% complete and done. Then we just have to move over the passenger side. So I got the driver's side all put on. We're good to go. All hooked up on the spark plug and on this end, so we should be pretty much good here. I'm going to go ahead and work on the other side now. Now that these are done, we'll come back through once we're done, check everything, make sure it's all tight. They do pop when you press them on, so it's pretty simple to know if they're on correctly or not. They like click into spot, so it's pretty simple. So now we got to go ahead and do this side. This side's a little bit more tricky because they route around the back of the engine, but the bottom one will go through the fender, and on the rest of them we'll go from the top. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So we'll go ahead and get this side replaced, and then we'll see if we have any more misfires. Hopefully this takes care of our problem because it's a relatively simple fix if this did fix it. All right, so I'm gonna pop the spark plugs out on the passenger side and go ahead and show you how I get to the bottom here. So without a fender well, you can actually see straight into there. So I just have to pop the wire off, and then we'll go ahead and remove the spark plug itself, swap it out. Also, I am putting anti-seize on all of these just because I don't want them to get stuck ever. So that will prevent that from happening. All right, so here is actually a better view of how I'm getting to this side. So as you guys can see, you can fit a wrench in there with your spark plug socket, and it's super simple. You have a ton of room and you can get it out no problem from here. It's a lot easier than going from the top for the back one. The other two, unfortunately, you have to go from the top to get to, so that part kind of sucks. Next up, we'll replace the wires, get everything set up. But first, I got to get all these spark plugs swapped out and get all these plugs popped off. All right, guys, so I got the Jeep pulled out of the garage. It's running fine. I didn't have any misfires at idle, but we're going to go ahead and take it for a drive. I'm going to hook up the JScan app because we can monitor it in live time if it has any misfires throughout our entire drive. I'm also going to be monitoring the temps of the cats to make sure those stay within what they should be. However, it's extremely cold and snowing, so I don't think those will overheat unless we're driving for a decent amount of time. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully this fixes our problem because it would be a lot cheaper than replacing the cats and everything. And it's already done. It was pretty simple to do. And it's something the Jeep needed anyway. It definitely needed new spark plugs. It's definitely running much, much better now than it was before. So even if it doesn't fix our issues, this definitely will help a lot. So now with that being said, let's go ahead. We'll hop in the Jeep. I got to hook up the JScan app, which is super simple. You just do it through your phone. It's through a Bluetooth connection into your OBD2. And from there, we'll be able to live monitor everything that goes on while we're driving. Alright guys, so what you're watching right now is the live view of any misfires. So each of those boxes is a cylinder 1 through 6, and each of those is currently scanning for any misfires that the Jeep has. Now, I don't have a video of us driving, but during this scan, we are driving just normal driving back roads and highways to make sure everything, and it does not misfire at all. It actually is working perfectly again, so that's a really good sign. So after driving for about an hour today, we had no misfires and everything worked really well, and the cats never went above temperature that they're supposed to be. So I think we may have fixed the issue. Now I do want to drive a little bit more, continue to scan it, and just make sure we fixed everything. Also, while I was working on this, I found a couple other things the Jeep needs, such as a lower intake manifold gasket, which is going to be kind of a pain to install, but it definitely needs it, so I'm not too worried about it. Also, I had to do a solenoid in the transmission. It's also kind of going to be a pain. I think I'm going to spend this winter just going through the Jeep, getting everything back to how it should be, and just back to 100% for the wheeling season next year. I'm also going to obviously be working on the WJ, but I want to get this thing back to 100%. It's been a little bit neglected since we've been working on the other Jeeps, but that basically concludes our video. I believe this solved the issue, so hopefully this helps somebody else. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching the videos and showing support. I'll see you guys in the next one.